Every day, millions of us find ourselves stuck in front of our screens, scrolling and tapping for hours, even when we don't want to. Our attention slips away bit by bit, and it's easy to feel powerless, like something else is quietly running our lives. This book is for anyone who's ever wondered where all their time and energy have gone, or why it's so hard to put the phone down and do what really matters. Escape the Digital Prison is not about blaming yourself or demanding more self-control. It's about seeing the truth. Our devices and apps are carefully built to grab and keep our attention, not to help us thrive. Once you understand how these hidden traps work, you can finally begin to break free. In these pages, you'll learn how to spot the tricks that keep you hooked, and you'll get simple steps to take back control. You'll find out how to track your screen time, remove distractions, and train your mind to focus again, even if you feel out of practice. You'll also discover how to find new purpose, build better habits, and start creating more than you consume. You don't need to be a tech expert or a super disciplined person to change your life. You just need a clear path forward, a little honesty, and the willingness to start. This book gives you the tools and support to do just that. If you're ready to get your time, energy, and creativity back, you're in the right place. Let's take the first step out of the digital cage toward a life that feels real, meaningful, and free. Chapter 1: The Digital Cage. You did not choose to be distracted today. You did not wake up this morning with a conscious plan to spend 3 hours scrolling through the lives of strangers, watching 15-second videos that you will forget the moment you swipe to the next one. Yet, here you are. You sit down to work, and your hand moves automatically to your pocket. You unlock the screen without a single thought. You tap an icon, and suddenly 20 minutes have vanished into the ether. This is not an accident. It is not a lack of discipline. It is a design. You are living inside a machine built for one specific purpose: to harvest your attention. The modern internet is not a library or a playground. It is a commercial enclosure where your time is the currency and your focus is the product. Every bright color, every red notification badge, and every infinite scroll mechanism has been engineered by some of the smartest minds on the planet to bypass your logic and hijack your biology. They understand your dopamine receptors better than you do. They know exactly when you are bored, anxious, or lonely, and they have trained you, like a lab rat, to press the lever the moment you feel the slightest discomfort. This normalization of constant entertainment has rewired your baseline state of existence. You have grown up or grown old in a world where boredom is treated as a crisis that must be solved immediately. The moment there is a lull in conversation, a wait at the traffic light, or a pause in a movie, you reach for the device. You have forgotten how to just be. Your default state is no longer calm and focused. It is stimulated and scattered. You are mentally hyperactive but physically stagnant, constantly processing input but never producing output. You feel exhausted at the end of the day, not because you did hard work, but because your brain has been running a marathon of cognitive processing without moving an inch. The silent theft of your potential. We need to be brutal about the math because the numbers do not lie. If you spend 4 hours a day on your phone, which is average for many adults, that is not just 4 hours. That is a quarter of your waking life. Over the course of a year, that equals 2 full months of 24-hour days. Over a lifetime, it is decades. Think about the cost of those decades. This is not just about lost time. It is about lost trajectory. Think of the projects you started and abandoned. Think of the skills you wanted to learn but claimed you didn't have time for. Think of the business you wanted to launch or the book you wanted to write. Those dreams didn't die because you lacked talent. They died because your attention was stolen and sold off in microtransactions to advertisers. The digital cage turns you into a spectator in your own life. You watch other people build businesses. You watch other people get fit. You watch other people travel. You consume their highlights while your own reality remains static. This is the slow collapse of ambition. It happens so gradually, you don't notice it until you wake up 5 years later and realize you are in the exact same place, just with more knowledge of internet trivia and less capacity to focus on a single page of text. The damage bleeds into your relationships too. How many times have you been physically present with a partner or a friend, but mentally absent? You nod along to their story, but your eyes are darting to the phone on the table, waiting for it to light up. You are signaling to the people you love that they are less interesting than a notification from a machine. This erodes trust. It creates a shallow emotional distance that grows into a chasm. You are trading deep connection for cheap stimulation, and the price is a life that feels crowded yet incredibly lonely. Reclaiming your trajectory. This book is your jailbreak plan. It is not a collection of productivity hacks or polite suggestions to reduce your screen time. It is a systematic dismantling of the mechanisms that keep you trapped. By the time you finish this process, you will not just be using your phone less, you will be operating with a completely different operating system for your life. Imagine regaining 2 hours of high-quality focused energy every single day. That is 14 hours a week. That is enough time to master a new language, build a side income, or get into the best shape of your life. You will learn to convert the time you currently waste on mindless scrolling into blocks of deep, meaningful effort. You will finish a tangible creative project, something that exists in the real world, not just in your head. More importantly, you will feel the return of your own mind. You will experience the ability to sit in a room, alone, without the itch to distract yourself. You will be able to do deep work for extended periods without fatigue. You will shift from a consumer who passively eats whatever is served to a creator who shapes their own environment. You will build a layer of mental armor that makes you immune to the cheap hooks of the attention economy. You will stop being a leaf blowing in the wind of algorithms and become the anchor of your own attention. The jailbreak protocol. We are going to escape this prison by following a specific sequence. You cannot skip steps. You cannot rely on willpower alone. Willpower is a finite resource, and you are fighting an enemy with infinite stamina. Instead, we will use strategy. First, we must map the territory. You cannot escape a prison you refuse to see. We will start by auditing your habits with ruthless honesty, identifying the specific loops and triggers that govern your behavior. We will name your cages. Next, we will restructure your environment. This is where we apply the concept of friction. We will make the destructive habits painful to access and the constructive habits effortless to start. We will turn your devices from slot machines back into tools. We will cut the hooks that snag your attention before you even realize you are caught. Finally, we will rebuild your internal world. We will train your focus like a muscle that is atrophied. We will define a personal mission that is more compelling than any social media feed. We will shift your identity from that of a user to that of a master. You will learn to become a creator and master one craft, channeling your energy into depth rather than width. You will eventually own your attention, creating a code of conduct that protects your mind for the rest of your life. We do it in this order because awareness must precede action and environment must precede willpower. If you try to force yourself to focus without changing your environment, you will fail. If you try to build a masterpiece without first reclaiming your time, you will burn out. This system is designed to compound. Each step makes the next one easier. Radical responsibility. There are 2 ways to handle the reality of the digital cage. You can adopt the attitude of the victim, or you can adopt the attitude of the winner. The victim says, "It is not my fault. The algorithms are too strong. My boss expects me to be online. Everyone else is doing it." The victim hides behind jokes about being addicted. They treat their lack of focus as a quirky personality trait rather than a structural crisis. They settle for average results because average is comfortable. They wait for the world to change, for the apps to become less addictive, for legislation to save them. They will wait forever. The winner accepts radical responsibility. Yes, the prison was built by others. Yes, the deck is stacked against you. Yes, the smartest engineers in the world are trying to keep you scrolling. But you are the one holding the device. You are the one unlocking the screen. You are the one choosing, moment by moment, to surrender your agency. Admitting this is painful, but it is the only path to freedom. If you admit you walked into the cage, you admit you can walk out. You must decide, right now, that your attention is a scarce and non-renewable resource worth guarding with your life. You must view this not as a hobby, but as a duty to your future self. The version of you that achieves your dreams is waiting on the other side of this transformation. The version of you that stays stuck is holding the phone right now. The first step into the dark. You might feel ready to smash your phone and run into the woods. Hold that energy, but do not act on impulse. Impulse is what got you here. We need calculated, cold, precise action. You think you know how bad your problem is. You think you know how much time you waste. I promise you, you are wrong. The reality is far worse than your estimation. The digital cage relies on your ignorance. It relies on the fact that you don't actually track where the hours go. You operate in a fog of denial, telling yourself it was just 5 minutes here and 10 minutes there. We are about to turn on the lights. We are going to look at the data, and it's going to be uncomfortable. You're going to see the exact shape of the bars that surround you. You cannot break free until you see exactly what is holding you back. The first habit is not about doing, it is about seeing. Turn the page, and let's look at the numbers that have been ruling your life. Before we continue, make sure to subscribe to Grow to the Top and activate notifications to receive more self-improvement tips that will supercharge your growth. And make sure to give this video a thumbs up and share it with your friends. It really helps the channel grow. Thank you for your support. Chapter 2, See the Bars. The stranger in your pocket. You unlock your phone to check the weather. 20 minutes later, you are watching a video of a stranger renovating a van in a country you will never visit. You blink, disoriented, wondering how you got there. You didn't choose this. You didn't sit down and decide that the most important use of your next 20 minutes was to consume short-form content about van life. It just happened. Your thumb moved before your brain did. This is the defining experience of the modern era. The sensation of waking up from a trance, realizing you have been sleepwalking through your own day. This chapter is where we stop pretending that this is a coincidence. We are going to strip away the vague guilt you feel about being on your phone too much and replace it with cold, hard data. You cannot escape a prison if you believe you are free, and right now you are hallucinating freedom. You think you are the customer of these platforms, but you are the raw material. To break out, you must first understand the exact dimensions of your confinement. You need to see the bars. By the end of this chapter, you will have a map. You will stop blaming yourself for a lack of willpower and start seeing the sophisticated machinery that has been deployed against you. We are going to conduct a forensic audit of your attention, tracking not just how much time you lose, but exactly when, where, and why you lose it. This is not about shame. It is about strategy. You are going to look at your behavior with the cold detachment of a scientist, because you cannot dismantle a system you do not understand. The surveillance state of the mind. You might think you know your habits, but you are bringing a knife to a nuclear war. The algorithms you interact with daily know you better than your spouse, your parents, or even you know yourself. While you are casually scrolling, the platform is conducting a high-frequency auction for your eyeballs. It is tracking every micro-behavior. It knows that you paused for 1.2 seconds on that photo of an ex-colleague. It knows you zoomed in on the image of the luxury watch. It knows you tend to doom scroll when your battery is below 20% late at night. This data creates a digital voodoo doll of your psyche. The system learns your emotional triggers faster than you can identify them. It knows that when you are anxious, you crave validation, so it shows you content that makes you feel included. It knows that when you are tired, your defenses are down, so it serves you outrageous headlines that trigger your fight-or-flight response. This is algorithmic conditioning. It is a feedback loop designed to bypass your executive function, the part of your brain responsible for long-term planning, and wire directly into your primitive desire centers. The result is a passive mindset loop. When your attention is managed externally, your sense of agency erodes. You stop being the driver of your life and become a passenger, strapped into a ride that is determined by a black box code optimized for engagement. You cannot beat this system by simply wishing to be better. You cannot outsmart a supercomputer with good intentions. To fight back, you need to gather your own intelligence. You need to know your weaknesses as intimately as the algorithm does. The forensic attention audit. Most people try to solve their distraction problem with vague goals. They say they will use their phone less. This is useless. It is like saying you will spend less money without ever looking at your bank statement. To escape the digital prison, you need to conduct a ruthless attention audit. This is not just about looking at your screen time total at the end of the week. That number is just a corpse. It tells you the time is dead, but it doesn't tell you how it died. We need to track the context. For the next 3 to 7 days, you're going to log your digital behavior with the precision of a crime scene investigator. You need to record 3 specific variables every time you find yourself falling into a digital hole: the trigger, the activity, and the aftermath. The trigger is the most important part. Were you bored? Were you avoiding a difficult email? Were you feeling lonely? Were you physically exhausted? You will likely discover that your usage is not random. It is clustered around specific gateway moments and high-risk moods. You might find that you never doom scroll at your desk, but the moment you sit on the couch after dinner, you vanish for an hour. You might realize that your morning commute is a guaranteed loss of focus, setting a scattered tone for the rest of the day. This audit reveals the layout of your personal prison. It shows you that you don't just have a phone problem, you have a boredom problem, or an anxiety problem, or a procrastination problem, and the phone is simply the medication you are using to sedate yourself. The lies that keep you locked up. As you begin to see the bars, your brain will try to protect you from the discomfort of reality. It will generate myths to rationalize your behavior. The most dangerous myth is the belief that you just need more willpower. You tell yourself that next time you will just be stronger. This is a lie. Willpower is a biological function that depletes with use. Relying on willpower to fight a multi-billion-dollar engagement engine is a guaranteed failure. Your problem is not moral weakness, it is structural design. You are trying to diet while living inside a candy store. The second myth is the safety of the herd. You look around and see that everyone else is glued to their screens, so you tell yourself it is fine. You rationalize that this is just how modern life works. This is the logic of the prisoner. Just because the cell block is crowded doesn't mean it isn't a prison. Average attention habits lead to average results, a life of distraction, low-level anxiety, and unfulfilled potential. If you want an exceptional life, you cannot tolerate average habits. The third and perhaps most insidious myth is the delusion of learning. You tell yourself that you are watching educational videos, reading news, or keeping up with industry trends. You feel productive because you are consuming information. But unless that information is immediately applied, it is mostly cognitive junk food. It gives you the sensation of progress without the reality of it. The prison is clever enough to make you feel smart while keeping you stuck. If you are consuming for 3 hours a day but creating nothing, you are not learning, you are hiding. Mapping the escape route. To execute the audit effectively, you need to lower the barrier to truth. Do not try to change your habits during the audit week. If you try to fix everything at once, you will distort the data. Just observe. Keep a small notebook or a single note on your phone. Every few hours, or whenever you catch yourself emerging from a screen coma, write it down. Be specific. 10 p.m., bedroom. Felt anxious about tomorrow. Scrolled Instagram for 45 minutes. Felt worse afterward. You must also identify your loops. A loop is a predictable sequence of actions. For many, it looks like this. Feel stuck on a work task. Open Twitter, get annoyed by a post, switch to Instagram to cool off, lose 30 minutes, return to work feeling foggy. Once you write this down, you strip it of its power. It stops being a mysterious loss of time and becomes a mechanical malfunction that can be fixed. You can look at the map and say, here is the weak point. Here is where I step off the path. Be prepared for the emotional backlash. When you see the numbers in black and white, you will feel a wave of shame. You will realize that the "I don't have time" excuse you have been using for years is a lie. You have plenty of time. You are just pouring it into a leaky bucket. Do not look away. That discomfort is the fuel you need. It is the death of your denial. You need to feel the weight of those lost hours so that you become desperate enough to change. The trap of the good enough audit. There are pitfalls to watch out for as you map your prison. The most common is underreporting. You will be tempted to skip logging the sessions that feel the most embarrassing, the late-night binges, the checking of an ex's profile, the mindless gaming. You must log these especially. The lies you tell yourself are the bars that are hardest to cut. If you sanitize the data, you are only planning an escape from a prison that doesn't exist. Another trap is getting overwhelmed by the sheer scale of the problem. You might look at your audit and think you are hopeless. You might see that your phone usage is woven into every hour of your day, from the moment you wake up to the moment you close your eyes. This is not a sign of hopelessness. It is a sign of how effective the trap is. Remember, this system was designed to capture you. The fact that it worked doesn't mean you are broken. It means the machine is functioning as intended. Your job is to break the machine's hold, not to hate yourself for getting caught. Consistency is your ally here. You might forget to track for a day. You might fall off the wagon. Do not abandon the exercise. Imperfect data is better than no data. Even 3 days of honest tracking will reveal patterns that will shock you. Use simple prompts to keep yourself on track. Set a recurring alarm on your phone that simply asks, "Am I choosing this?" Put a sticky note on your computer monitor that says, "What am I avoiding?" These external jolts help break the trance and remind you to record the truth. The view from the cell. When you complete this process, you will arrive at a new state of being. You will no longer be a sleepwalker. You will be a prisoner who has found the blueprints to the facility. You will know exactly which moods trigger your desire to escape into a screen. You will know which times of day are your most vulnerable. You will see the causal link between your digital consumption and your lack of creative output. This clarity is the first true step toward freedom. You will stop fighting a phantom war against distraction and start fighting a specific war against specific habits. You will be able to point to a specific app and say, "This is not a tool, this is a pacifier." You will be able to look at a specific time of day and say, "This is not relaxation, this is anesthesia." But seeing the bars is not the same as breaking them. Awareness is necessary, but it is not sufficient. You now know where the traps are, but you are still walking through a minefield. The environment around you is still engineered to pull you back in. Your willpower is still outnumbered by the thousands of engineers on the other side of the screen. To actually walk out of the cell, you need to do more than just watch your step. You need to change the physics of your world. You need to alter the landscape so that the path of least resistance leads you toward your goals, not away from them. We are about to take the map you just created and use it to sabotage the prison itself. The next step is not about trying harder. It is about making it impossible to fail. Chapter 3. Cut the hooks. The slot machine in your pocket. You are walking around with a casino in your pocket. This is not a metaphor. It is a literal description of the psychological mechanisms operating inside your device. Every time you unlock your screen, you are pulling a lever. Every time you drag your thumb down to refresh a feed, you are spinning the wheels. You are waiting to see what comes up. Will it be a funny video? A message from a friend? A piece of rage-inducing news? You don't know, and that uncertainty is exactly what keeps you pulling the lever. This mechanism is known as a variable reward schedule. It is the same logic used in gambling to keep players glued to the machines until their pockets are empty. But instead of money, you are paying with your life. The engineers who built these apps understand this. They know that if the reward is predictable, you will get bored. But if the reward is random, you will become obsessive. You are not addicted to the content. You are addicted to the anticipation of the content. In this chapter, we are going to dismantle the casino. We are not going to rely on your willpower to resist the urge to play. Willpower is a finite resource, and you are up against a trillion-dollar industry designed to deplete it. Instead, we are going to change the rules of the game. We are going to introduce a concept called friction. We will make the behaviors that destroy your focus difficult, annoying, and slow, while making the behaviors that build your life easy and automatic. We are going to cut the hooks that have been buried in your mind, one by one. The rigged game of willpower. Stop trying to be stronger than the algorithm. It is a fight you will lose. You might win for a day, or maybe a week, but eventually you will get tired. You will have a bad day at work or a moment of weakness, and the algorithm will be waiting. It never sleeps. It never gets tired. It has thousands of data points on exactly what triggers you. Relying on self-control to manage your digital life is like trying to study in the middle of a riot. It is technically possible, but the environment is designed to make you fail. The only fair fight is the one you design yourself. You must accept that your brain is wired to follow the path of least resistance. If the easiest thing to do when you're bored is to open a social media app, you will do it. It doesn't matter how ambitious you are or how much you want to change. In the micro moment of decision, the brain chooses the low-energy path. This is the friction principle. Whoever controls the friction controls the behavior. Right now, the friction is zero. The apps are one tap away. They are logged in. They are sending you notifications to remind you they exist. They have removed every barrier between you and the dopamine hit. To escape, you must reverse this engineering. You must become the architect of your own inconvenience. You are going to deliberately break the flow that the designers worked so hard to create. You are going to make your bad habits the hardest thing to do in your day. Demolishing the casino floor. The first step is to turn your phone from an entertainment center back into a tool. A tool is something you pick up to complete a specific task and then put down when you are finished. A hammer does not vibrate to tell you it is lonely. A screwdriver does not update its handle to keep you interested. Your phone should be boring. It should be a utility. To do this, you must remove the instant access to your biggest distractions. This means deleting the apps that you identified in your audit as your primary cages. I know the panic that rises in your chest when you consider this. You think you will miss out. You think you will be disconnected from the world. This is the addiction talking. The reality is that you are currently disconnected from your own life because you are too busy watching everyone else's. If you cannot bring yourself to delete them entirely yet, you must banish them from the home screen. Move them into a folder on the last page of your phone. Name that folder something that forces a pause, like "Are you sure?" or "Time waster." This adds a layer of friction. You can no longer tap the icon unconsciously. You have to swipe, search, and click. That extra 2 seconds is often enough for your rational brain to kick in and ask if this is really what you want to do. The myth of the professional. You will tell yourself that you need notifications to be professional. You will say that you need to be reachable at all times. This is a lie that keeps you tethered. True professionals are not reactive. They are proactive. They do deep, concentrated work that requires silence. If you are responding to every email and message within 30 seconds, you are not working. You are just processing other people's anxieties. Audit your notifications with ruthless aggression. Turn off everything that is not a direct, human-to-human communication that requires immediate attention. Likes, follows, news alerts, and app updates are not urgent. They are noise. They are fishing lines thrown into your day to drag you back to the surface. By disabling them, you reclaim the right to choose when you engage. You stop living in a state of constant reactive panic and start living on your own terms. When you silence the noise, you will feel a phantom vibration in your pocket. You will check your phone and see a blank screen. This will feel unsettling at first, like walking into a room that is too quiet. But soon, that silence will transform into space. Space to think. Space to breathe. space to focus on the task in front of you without a digital tap on the shoulder every 4 minutes. Visual anesthesia. Color is a signal. The bright red of a notification badge, the saturated blue of a refresh button, the vivid gradients of an app icon, these are all chosen to stimulate your brain. They are visual sugar. One of the most powerful ways to add friction is to strip the color away entirely. Turn your phone to grayscale. When you look at a black and white screen, the magic disappears. Instagram looks like a surveillance feed. TikTok looks like a broken television. The psychological pull evaporates because the visual reward is gone. Your phone instantly becomes a utilitarian object. It becomes a slab of glass and metal, not a portal to a magical world. This is not a silly trick. It is a biological hack. You are dampening the signal that tells your primitive brain to pay attention. You are making the digital world look as dull as a spreadsheet. Combine this with physical friction. When you are working, put the phone in another room. Put it in a drawer. Make it so that checking your phone requires you to physically stand up and walk. That small barrier of physical effort is often the difference between a 3-hour deep work session and a fragmented afternoon of wasted time. Rewiring the default path. Friction cuts both ways. While you are adding walls around your bad habits, you must pave the road for your good ones. You need to rebuild your default digital pathways. Right now, your thumb knows exactly where to go to find distraction. You need to retrain it to find creation. Identify the actions that actually serve your mission. Maybe it is reading a book, writing notes, or sketching ideas. Make these the path of least resistance. If you use a reading app, put it in the most accessible spot on your home screen. If you use a note-taking app for your ideas, make sure it opens instantly. Create speed bumps for your mind. Change the names of your folders. Put a piece of tape on the back of your phone with a question written on it. Change your lock screen to a plain black background with a single sentence of text that reminds you of your goal. These are small interruptions that break the trance. They force you to become conscious. They ask you, are you driving, or is the car driving you? The withdrawal and the relapse. You will face resistance. You will have a day where you feel overwhelmed, and you will reinstall the apps. You will turn the color back on. You will undo the friction because you want the easy comfort of the cage. This does not mean you have failed. It means you are human. When this happens, do not spiral. Implement a 24-hour rule. If you want to change a setting back or reinstall an app, you must wait 24 hours before doing it. Write down why you want to do it. Usually, the urge will pass. If you do slip, look at it as data. Why did the friction fail? Was it too easy to bypass? Do you need to make it harder? You might also face pushback from the people around you. They will complain that you didn't text back immediately. They will ask if you are mad at them. Explain your new boundaries calmly. Tell them you are trying to focus on your work and that you check messages at specific times. Real friends will respect this. In fact, they will likely be jealous of your newfound peace. You are showing them that it is possible to opt out of the madness. The quiet room. By the end of this process, your phone will look different. It will be quiet. It will be dull. It will be a tool that waits for you to pick it up rather than a master that demands your attention. You will walk through your day without the constant tug of the hook in your cheek. You will sit down to work, and your hand will not automatically reach for the device. You will feel a sense of agency that you haven't felt in years. But here is the catch. You have cleared the weeds, but you haven't planted the garden. You have stopped the constant drain on your attention, but you haven't yet learned how to use the attention you have saved. You are like a person who has emptied a room of junk but doesn't know what to put in it. The silence you have created is dangerous. If you do not fill it with something strong, the noise will rush back in. Your brain is now free from the constant pings and buzzes, but it is also weak. It has forgotten how to sustain focus on a single difficult task for more than a few minutes. You have cut the hooks, but you are not yet strong enough to swim in the deep water. The cage is open, but your legs are atrophied. Now we must go to the gym. Chapter 4. Train your focus. The atrophy of your mind. You sit down to read a book, a report, or even a long email. You get through the first paragraph, and then you feel it. It is a physical itch behind your eyes. Your hand twitches toward your phone. You wonder if anyone has messaged you. You suddenly remember a random fact you need to look up. You feel a restless, low-grade anxiety that makes the words on the page swim. You are not just distracted, you are weak. This is not an insult. It is a diagnosis. For years, you have been training your brain to process information in 10-second bursts. You have conditioned yourself to expect a new hit of dopamine every time you feel the slightest twinge of boredom. As a result, your capacity for deep, sustained focus has atrophied. It is exactly like a muscle that has been in a cast for a decade. You take the cast off and expect to run a marathon, but your legs buckle under your own weight. In the previous chapters, we stopped the bleeding. We audited your time, we cut the hooks, and we added friction to the bad habits. But removing the negative is only half the battle. If you cut out all the junk but still have a weak mind, you will just sit in a silent room feeling tortured. Now, we must rebuild. We are going to take your attention span to the gym. We are going to treat focus not as a personality trait that you either have or do not have, but as a raw physical capability that must be trained, stressed, and recovered. The high cost of fragmented thinking. You might think you are good at multitasking. You are not. No one is. When you switch from writing a report to checking a Slack message and then back to the report, you are not doing two things at once. You are rapidly switching your context. There is a concept in psychology called attention residue. It means that when you switch tasks, a part of your attention remains stuck on the previous task. You are never fully present in the new task because a chunk of your processing power is still processing the email you just read. This fragmentation is why you feel exhausted at the end of the day, even if you haven't produced anything of value. Your brain is burning energy on the switching cost, not on the work itself. It is like driving a car and slamming on the brakes every 50 feet. You burn a lot of fuel, you ruin the engine, and you never get anywhere. Focus is the master skill. It is the force multiplier for everything else you want to do in life. If you want to learn a new language, code an app, write a book, or even just have a deep conversation with your partner, you need the ability to sustain attention without fracturing. Without focus, every other habit is a struggle. With focus, difficult tasks become manageable, and manageable tasks become easy. The world is designed to shred your concentration into confetti. If you can be the rare person who can hold a single thought for an hour, you become dangerous. You possess a superpower in a world of invalids. Constructing the iron sanctuary. To train a muscle, you need a gym. To train your brain, you need a sanctuary. You cannot train your focus in the same environment where you consume your distractions. You need to carve out a specific space and time where the rules of engagement are different. This is not about creating a vibey workspace with the perfect lighting. It is about creating a zone of zero tolerance. When you enter this sanctuary, whether it's a specific desk, a corner of a library, or just your kitchen table at 5 a.m., the rules are absolute. No phone, no random browser tabs, no email. Think of this sanctuary like a sterile operating theater. You are there to perform surgery on your work. You cannot have contaminants entering the room. If your phone is on the table, even if it is silent, your brain is burning energy ignoring it. Put it in another room. If you need the internet for research, download what you need and then disconnect. You are creating a sealed environment where the only option is to do the work or stare at the wall. The progressive overload protocol. If you walked into a weight room for the first time in years, you would not try to bench press 300 pounds. You would crush your chest and never come back. Yet, this is exactly what people do with their focus. They decide they are going to be productive, so they sit down for a 4-hour marathon session. They last 20 minutes, feel miserable, fail, and then decide they are just not focused people. We are going to use the principle of progressive overload. We start small, we conquer the weight, and then we add more. Your starting weight is 25 minutes. This is your first exercise. You are going to choose one single task. You're going to set a timer for 25 minutes. And for those 25 minutes, you are allowed to do nothing but that task. If you finish the task, you review it. If you get stuck, you stare at the screen. You do not switch windows. You do not check the time. You sit in the tension. This sounds easy. It is not. Around minute 12, the itch will start. Your brain will scream that you need to check something. It will invent urgent problems. It will make you feel physically uncomfortable. This is the burn. This is the moment the training actually begins. If you give in and check your phone, you have dropped the weight. If you hold the line until the timer goes off, you have completed a rep. The myth of the multitasking pro. Your brain will lie to you to get out of the work. It will tell you that you are naturally scattered, that you are a creative, chaotic type. This is nonsense. You can focus perfectly well when you're playing a video game, watching a gripping movie, or doom scrolling for 3 hours. You have focus. You have just trained it to fixate on high-stimulation, passive consumption. You have trained yourself to be a consumer, not a creator. Another lie is the need for inspiration. You tell yourself you will focus when you feel in the zone. This is backward. Inspiration is a byproduct of focus, not a prerequisite. The muse does not visit people who are scrolling Twitter. The muse visits people who are 10 minutes into a hard problem and haven't looked away. You do not wait for the mood. You summon the mood by doing the reps. The most dangerous lie is that you are missing out on something urgent. You are not that important. Unless you are an air traffic controller or a trauma surgeon on call, nothing bad will happen if you vanish for 25 minutes. The emails will wait. The Slack messages will wait. The world will keep spinning while you build your mind. The distraction pad technique. During your focus blocks, your brain will bombard you with urgent thoughts. I need to email Bob. I need to buy toothpaste. I wonder who won the game. These thoughts are not actually urgent. They are your brain trying to escape the discomfort of deep work. Do not act on them, but do not try to suppress them either. If you try to suppress them, they will bounce around your skull and ruin your focus. Instead, offload them. Keep a physical notebook and a pen next to you. This is your distraction pad. When a thought pops up, write it down immediately. Email Bob. Buy toothpaste. Once it is on the paper, your brain has permission to let it go. You have captured it. You can deal with it later. Then immediately return to the work. You will find that by the end of the 25 minutes, you have a list of 5 or 6 things. When you look at them during your break, you will realize that 4 of them are completely irrelevant, and the other 2 can be done in 30 seconds. You just saved yourself from 6 context switches that would have derailed your entire hour. Hacking the flow state. To make this training stick, you need to ritualize it. You need a pre-game routine. It doesn't have to be elaborate. It can be as simple as getting a glass of water, putting on noise-canceling headphones, and writing down the one goal for this block. This sequence tells your brain, we are entering the gym now. Track your reps. Do not just track hours worked. That is a vanity metric. Track focus blocks completed. Did you do 3 clean 25-minute blocks today? That is a victory. Write it down. Seeing the streak build up gives you a visual representation of your strengthening mind. After a week of 25-minute blocks, you will feel a shift. The itch will come later, maybe at minute 20. This is the signal to add weight. Push it to 35 minutes, then 45. Do not go much past 90 minutes without a break. Even elite athletes need recovery, but you will find that a 45-minute block of deep, unbroken focus produces more value than 8 hours of distracted, frantic multitasking. The withdrawal symptoms. You need to know what is coming so you do not panic. When you start this training, you will feel boredom. It will feel heavy and dull. You will feel a craving for the bright lights and fast cuts of your digital life. You will feel like you are moving through molasses. This boredom is not a sign that something is wrong. It is a sign that you are detoxing. Your brain is recalibrating its dopamine sensitivity. You are moving from a diet of candy to a diet of steak. The steak requires chewing. It is harder to digest, but it builds muscle, whereas the candy just gave you diabetes. You might also face the urgency trap. You will stop a block because you are terrified you are missing a crisis. You fix this by setting clear boundaries. Tell your boss or your family, "I am going heads down for an hour." Once you realize the world didn't end, the fear will evaporate. The quiet power of depth. As you stack these days together, something profound will happen. You will finish a task that used to take you 3 days in a single morning. You will read a complex article and actually understand it without having to reread the same sentence 4 times. You will experience flow, that mystical state where time dissolves and the work feels effortless. You will start to look at your phone not with longing, but with a slight disdain. You will see it for what it is, a noise machine that interrupts your greatness. You will feel a quiet pride at the end of the day. It is the good kind of tired, the exhaustion of a muscle that has been used for its intended purpose, not the frazzled stress of a mind that has been spun in circles. You are building the vessel. You are caulking the leaks. You are constructing a mind that is capable of holding a massive amount of energy and directing it toward a single point. This is the prerequisite for doing anything that matters. But a strong vessel is useless if it is empty. A laser beam is useless if it is not pointed at a target. You have the strength now. You have the tool. But strength without direction is just wasted energy. You can focus, but focus on what? If you apply this new superpower to the wrong things, you will just get to the wrong destination faster. We have cleared the fog, and we have built the engine. Now, we need a map. We need to find the mission that is worthy of the attention you have fought so hard to reclaim. Chapter 5. Find your mission. The danger of an empty room. You have spent the last few chapters clearing the debris from your life. You have audited your time, removed the apps that were draining your soul, and started training your attention span to handle boredom. You have built a sanctuary. You have created silence. But now you are facing a new and terrified problem. You are standing in the middle of a quiet room. You have your focus back, and you have absolutely no idea what to do with it. This is the purpose vacuum. It is the single most dangerous moment in your escape attempt. When you create a void in your life by removing the noise, your brain immediately panics. It craves input. It craves direction. If you do not give your attention a specific, compelling destination, it will inevitably flow back to the path of least resistance. It will flow back to the screen. You cannot fight a vacuum with willpower. You cannot just sit there and try to be productive in the abstract. Being productive is not a goal. It is a setting on a machine. You need a target. You need a reason to say no to the dopamine hits that is stronger than the urge to say yes. You need a mission. This chapter is not about finding your bliss or waiting for a spiritual awakening. It is about choosing a direction so that your newfound focus has somewhere to land. The paper sword in a gunfight. Trying to escape the digital prison without a mission is like bringing a paper sword to a gunfight. You might feel brave, but you are going to lose. The algorithms are weaponized to capture aimless attention. If you are just browsing through life, you are the perfect prey. But the moment you have a mission, the dynamic changes. You stop being a browser and start being a hunter. Think about the last time you were truly obsessed with a project. Maybe it was fixing a car, planning a trip, or learning a difficult song on the guitar. Did you need to use an app blocker to stay off your phone? Probably not. You forgot the phone existed. You were too busy. The distraction didn't disappear. It just became irrelevant. It became small. This is the power of the why. When your why is strong, the how of resisting temptation becomes automatic. But right now, your why is likely weak. You have vague aspirations. You want to be successful, or learn more, or get better. These are not missions. These are wishes. Wishes do not hold up against a team of engineers designing a slot machine for your pocket. You need something concrete. You need a project, a cause, or a craft that demands your attention so loudly that the notifications on your phone sound like whispers. The calendar never lies. If I looked at your calendar and your bank statement right now, would I see your values? You might say you value creativity, health, and learning. But if your screen time report says 4 hours of social media and your calendar shows 0 hours of creative work, then you do not value creativity. You value distraction. This is attention-goal misalignment. It is the gap between who you say you are and what you actually do. Most people live their entire lives in this gap. They drift, they let the days slip into weeks and the weeks into years, always thinking that someday they will get serious. They treat their life like a dress rehearsal. Indecision is a decision. By refusing to pick a direction, you have chosen stagnation. You have chosen to remain a consumer of other people's lives rather than the author of your own. You are protecting your ego by not committing, because if you don't try, you can't fail. But you are already failing. You are failing by default. It is time to close the gap. It is time to align your attention with a target that actually matters to you. The passion trap. You are probably hesitating because you are waiting for the lightning bolt. You have been sold a myth that you need to find your one true passion before you can start. You think you need to discover your soulmate career, and until that magical day arrives, you are justified in scrolling. This is procrastination disguised as wisdom. Passion is not a lightning bolt. Passion is a fire that you build. It starts with a spark of interest, and it grows through action. You do not find passion by thinking, you find it by doing. You find it by getting good at something. The mission comes first, the passion follows the competence. You also do not need to quit your job to have a mission. Your mission can live outside your 9 to 5. It can be a side project. It can be a skill you are mastering in the early morning hours. Do not use your boring job as an excuse for passivity. And do not fall for the trap of thinking your mission must be world-changing. You do not need to save the whales or colonize Mars. You just need to help a specific group of people solve a specific problem or master a specific craft. Clarity beats grandeur every time. A small, focused mission that you actually execute is infinitely better than a grand vision that exists only in your head. The 3-list protocol. We are going to find your mission right now. We're not going to meditate on a mountaintop. We are going to make 3 lists. Grab a piece of paper. List 1. Problems. What frustrates you? What is broken in your world? It could be big, like the education system, or small, like the fact that there are no good coffee shops in your neighborhood. What do you complain about? Complaints are often just missions in disguise. List 2. Interests. What do you enjoy doing? What topics do you read about when no one is watching? What could you study for 3 hours without getting bored? This is your fuel. List 3. People. Who do you want to help? Is it young designers, struggling parents, small business owners, or maybe it is just people who like sci-fi novels? You need an audience, a recipient for your energy. Now, look for the intersection. Combine them into a simple sentence. I help people solve problem using interest. Or I am building project to explore interest for people. This is your version 1.0 mission statement. It does not have to be perfect. It just has to be actionable. I am going to write a blog to help junior developers pass their interviews. I am going to build a garden to provide fresh vegetables for my family. I am going to learn graphic design to help local charities look professional. Living by the compass. Once you have this sentence, it becomes your compass. It is a filter for your reality. When you pick up your phone to watch a video, you ask, does this serve the mission? If the answer is no, you put it down. You are no longer denying yourself pleasure, you are protecting your purpose. You must translate this mission into your weekly schedule. A mission without a time block is just a hallucination. Identify 1 to 3 actions you can take this week to move the mission forward. Block them out. These appointments are non-negotiable. They are meetings with your future self. Use the 5-year reverse lens. Ask yourself, if I stay on this mission for 5 years, what could be true? Visualize the skills you would have, the body of work you would have built, the people you would have impacted. Now, compare that vision to the vision of you scrolling for another 5 years. The contrast should be enough to make the phone feel heavy in your hand. The identity shift. The ultimate goal of finding a mission is not just to get things done, it is to change who you are. When you have a mission, you stop introducing yourself by your job title and start introducing yourself by your purpose. You stop being a user and start being a builder. You will feel a shift in your identity. You will feel responsible to the people you are trying to serve. If you are writing a book for them, every hour you spend watching cat videos is an hour you are stealing from them. Distraction stops feeling like a harmless vice and starts feeling like a betrayal. This is the gravitational center you have been missing. It pulls your scattered attention into a tight orbit. It gives you the resilience to push through the boredom of deep work because you know exactly what that work is for. You are no longer training your focus just to be good at focusing. You are training it to build something real. The trap of the ego. Be careful. As you pick your mission, your ego will try to hijack the process. It will want you to pick something that sounds impressive at a dinner party. It will want you to chase status instead of impact. It will tell you to pick the mission that gets the most likes on Instagram. Ignore the ego. Measure your mission by impact, not by applause. A quiet mission that you stick to for a decade is worth 1,000 loud missions that you abandon after a month. You will lose motivation. The initial excitement will fade. That is normal. When that happens, do not change the mission. Reconnect with the people on your third list. Remember who you are doing this for. Crossing the threshold. You now have a map. You have a compass. You have cleared the path and strengthened your legs. You know where you want to go, but a map is not the territory. Knowing your mission is not the same as living it. There is a vast difference between the person who plans to write a novel and the person who writes a page. There is a chasm between the person who wants to learn to code and the person who ships an app. The digital prison is full of people with great ideas and zero output. They consume content about their mission instead of doing the work. They are learning about painting instead of holding a brush. To truly escape, you must cross the threshold from the passive world of input to the active world of output. You must stop absorbing and start emitting. You must undergo the most radical transformation of all. You must stop being a sponge and start being a fountain. The next step is where we stop preparing and start producing. We are about to turn your potential into kinetic energy. Chapter 6. Become a creator. The ghost in the machine. You have spent your entire digital life as a ghost. You float through the internet, passing through walls of text, videos, and images, but you leave no trace. You watch, you listen, you read, and you scroll. But if you were to disappear tomorrow, the digital world would look exactly the same. You are a professional audience member. You have become an expert at observing the lives and works of other people while your own potential remains trapped inside your head, unseen and unheard. This stops today. Up until this point, every chapter has been about defense. We have built walls, cut hooks, and guarded your time. But defense does not win championships, and it does not build a life. You cannot simply stop consuming and expect to feel fulfilled. If you create a vacuum and do not fill it with your own output, you will eventually implode. You will slide back into the easy comfort of the feed because the human mind is not designed to be idle. It is designed to work. The shift we are making now is the most important pivot in this entire book. It is the flip from passive to active. It is the decision to stop being a sponge that only absorbs and start being a fountain that emits. You are going to learn that the only cure for the anxiety of consumption is the discipline of creation. You are going to stop using the internet as a television and start using it as a printing press. The toxic safety of input. There is a reason you prefer to watch rather than make. Consumption is safe. When you are reading an article, you cannot fail. When you are watching a tutorial, you feel productive without risking anything. You get a hit of dopamine that tricks your brain into thinking you have accomplished something. You feel smarter because you watched a video about astrophysics, but you cannot solve a single equation. This is the great illusion of the information age. We mistake familiarity for competence. Consumption keeps you powerless because it keeps you in the passenger seat. You can scroll your way through 1,000 miles of content, but you will not move an inch in your real life. Real change only happens when you switch gears and start driving. The only way to turn ideas into reality is to force them out of your head and into the world. If you stay an audience member, you are voting for your own irrelevance. You are telling yourself that your role is to witness the greatness of others rather than to cultivate your own. This is a form of hiding. It is a way of avoiding the judgment that comes with showing your work. But here is the hard truth. It is better to be criticized for what you created than to be ignored because you created nothing. Casting votes for a new identity. We talked about identity earlier, but now we are going to operationalize it. You do not become a creator by changing your bio on social media. You become a creator by creating. It is a behavioral distinction, not a title. Every time you write a paragraph, sketch a design, write a line of code, or record a voice note, you are casting a vote for your new identity. When you consume, you are casting a vote for the identity of a user. You are reinforcing the neural pathways that say, I am someone who takes what is given. When you create, even if it is something small and terrible, you are reinforcing the pathway that says, I am someone who makes things exist. This is how you rewire the cravings. The urge to scroll is often just a misdirected urge to engage. Your brain wants to do something, and the phone offers the easiest path. By building a habit of creation, you give your brain a better option. You replace the cheap high of novelty with the deep satisfaction of agency. Over time, the identity shifts. You stop looking at your phone as a source of entertainment and start seeing it as a distribution channel for your work. The magic of micro-creation. You are likely paralyzed because you think creation means writing a novel, launching a startup, or painting a masterpiece. This is the ego trying to sabotage you. If you set the bar at masterpiece, you will never start. You will wait for a large block of free time that will never come. You will wait for inspiration that will never strike. We are going to bypass this paralysis with the concept of micro-creation. We are not trying to build Rome in a day. We are trying to lay one brick. A micro-creation is a tiny, tangible output that takes 10 to 20 minutes. It is a single paragraph of thought. It is a rough sketch on a napkin. It is 3 lines of code that solve a specific problem. It is a curated list of resources. These small wins are not inferior. They are essential. They break the seal. When you finish a micro-creation, you feel a spark of energy. You prove to yourself that you can bring something into the world. These sparks accumulate. A paragraph becomes an essay becomes a chapter, a sketch becomes a prototype. Consistency matters far more than scale. If you create something small every single day, you will build a body of work that dwarfs the person who waits years to write their magnum opus. The lie of the creative type. You might be telling yourself that you are just not a creative person. You are analytical, or logical, or practical. This is a lie. Creativity is not a mystical talent reserved for artists in berets. Creativity is simply the act of combining existing ideas in new ways to solve a problem or express a truth. If you have ever fixed a broken appliance with a weird tool, you are creative. If you have ever explained a complex concept to a child using a metaphor, you are creative. Your unique experience is the raw material. No one else has read the exact books you have read, lived in the exact places you have lived, and struggled with the exact problems you have faced. When you synthesize these inputs and output a solution or a perspective, that is creativity. The other lie is perfectionism. You think your work has to be good to count. This is false. Your early work will be bad. It is supposed to be bad. You are a beginner. Perfectionism is just fear of judgment dressed up in a tuxedo. It is a defense mechanism to keep you from shipping. You must embrace the shitty first draft. A messy, imperfect creation that actually exists is infinitely more valuable than a perfect idea that stays in your head, done in real beats, imagined, and flawless every single time. The Create First protocol. To make this shift permanent, you need a rule that is absolute. We call it the create first rule. It is simple. You are not allowed to consume optional content until you have created something. You cannot check the news, scroll the feed, or watch the video until you have done your daily micro-creation. This flips the reward system. Instead of consumption being the default, it becomes the reward for production. You have to earn your dopamine. Wake up and write 3 sentences before you check your email. Sketch 1 idea before you open the browser. This ensures that you always pay yourself first. You give your best energy to your own output, and only the leftovers go to the rest of the world. If you track this, you will see a chain forming, a streak of days where you made something. Protect this chain. On bad days, when you are tired and busy, lower the bar. Make the creation embarrassingly small. Write 1 sentence, draw 1 line. Just keep the vote count moving in the right direction. The input to output ratio. You must also change how you consume. From now on, you are not allowed to just download information into your brain and leave it there. That leads to mental hoarding. You become a storage closet of facts that never see the light of day. Adopt the input to output reflection. Every time you consume something that resonates with you, a podcast, an article, a chapter of a book, you must immediately transmute it into output. Write a summary in your own words. Explain the concept to a friend. Apply the lesson to a project you are working on. This is active learning. You do not truly understand an idea until you have used it or explained it. By forcing yourself to create output from your input, you stop being a passive receiver and become an active processor. You stop hoarding and start shipping. If you find yourself reading for 3 hours but writing nothing, stop. You are overeating information. Balance the scales. The research trap. The most dangerous form of procrastination for a creator is research. Research feels like work. You are reading, you are learning, you are gathering data. It feels responsible. But often research is just fear. It's a way to delay the scary part of actually making the thing. You can research forever. There is always one more article to read, one more tutorial to watch. You must set a hard limit. Use a timer. Give yourself 30 minutes to research and then force yourself to switch to creation mode. If you don't feel ready, start anyway. You will learn more in 10 minutes of struggling to build something than in 10 hours of reading about how to build it. Treat over-researching as a warning signal. It means you are hiding. It means you are trying to guarantee success before you start, which is impossible. Step into the uncertainty. The only way out is through. The fear of the empty room. When you start creating, you will face the fear of the empty room. You will make things and no one will care. You will post a blog and no one will read it. You will push code and no one will use it. This silence can be crushing if your ego is attached to the outcome. You must reframe this. The silence is not a failure, it is a laboratory. The fact that no one is watching is a gift. It means you are free to experiment. You are free to be bad. You are free to find your voice without the pressure of an audience. Share your work, yes, but share it for accountability, not for validation. Find a small group of peers, or even just one friend, and share your micro-creations with them. Do not look for applause, look for feedback. Look for the internal click that says, I made this. That feeling is the fuel that will keep you going when the likes don't come. The idea queue. As you start this engine, you will find that ideas start coming to you at inconvenient times. You will be in the shower, or driving, or walking, and a thought will strike. If you do not capture it, it will vanish. And if you try to hold it in your head, it will clog up your mental RAM. Keep an idea queue. This is a single, messy list where you dump everything. A potential headline, a solution to a bug, a melody, a business concept. Get it out of your head and onto the list. This list becomes your gold mine. When you sit down to do your daily micro-creation and you don't feel inspired, you don't have to stare at a blank page. You open your queue, pick an item, and get to work. The accumulation of power. If you follow this path, a strange thing will happen after a few weeks. You will look back and see a trail of evidence. You will see a folder full of writing, or a sketchbook full of designs, or a repository full of code. You will realize that you are no longer the same person who started this book. That person was a consumer. That person was a ghost. You are now a builder. You have proof. You have a body of work that is growing every day. This body of work is an asset. It attracts opportunities. People start to see you differently. They stop asking you what you think about the news and start asking you about what you are working on. You start to attract other creators. You enter a different layer of the game. But there is a danger here. You have learned to start the engine. You have learned to move. But movement is not the same as progress. You can create 1,000 random things and end up with a pile of junk. You can be a prolific creator of noise. To truly escape the prison and build a life of freedom, you cannot just create anything. You must channel this new energy into a specific direction. You must stop scattering your shots and start aiming at a single target. You have learned to fire the gun. Now you must learn to hit the bullseye. We need to talk about mastery. Chapter 7, Master One Craft. The curse of the jack of all trades. You have energy now. You have reclaimed hours from the screen. You have trained your focus to handle boredom, and you have started creating small things. You are moving. But movement is not the same as velocity. You can run in circles at 100 miles an hour and end up exactly where you started, just more tired. This is the trap that catches the ambitious person who escapes the digital prison, the trap of the dabbler. You look at your newfound time and you want to do everything. You want to learn Python and speak Spanish and trade stocks and paint watercolors and start a podcast. You spend 2 weeks on one, get bored or hit a hard patch and switch to the next. You tell yourself you are being a polymath or a Renaissance person. You are lying to yourself. You are simply scattering your attention so thin that it has no penetrating power. This chapter is about stopping the spray and starting the laser. It is about the uncomfortable but necessary act of killing your options so that one of them can actually live. We are going to take all that reclaimed focus and channel it into a single narrow point. We are going to talk about mastery, not the vague idea of being good at things, but the specific, ruthless pursuit of becoming undeniable at one thing. The shallow grave of potential. The digital world loves the generalist because the generalist is easy to distract. If you are interested in everything, you are susceptible to everything. The algorithm can hook you with a cooking video, then a coding tutorial, then a fitness tip. You feel productive because you are learning a little bit of everything. But in the real world, a little bit of everything is worth almost nothing. Depth is the only thing that compounds. If you spend 100 hours on 10 different skills, you are a novice in 10 things. You have zero leverage. You cannot build a career, a movement, or a legacy on being a novice. But if you spend 1,000 hours on one skill, you become dangerous. You move past the basics and into the nuance. You start to see patterns that others miss. You gain the ability to solve expensive problems. This is why choosing a craft is a power move. It simplifies your entire life. When you have a primary craft, whether it is writing, coding, design, or deal-making, you suddenly have a filter for your attention. Every hour of your day can be evaluated with a binary question. Is this making me better at my craft, or is it not? The vague guilt of, I should be doing something disappears, replaced by the clarity of, I am training. You stop being a consumer of tutorials and start being a practitioner of a discipline. The one-year vow. You are terrified to choose because you think choosing means losing. You think that if you commit to coding, you are killing the writer inside you. You think that if you commit to design, you are abandoning your musical dreams. This fear of missing out is exactly what keeps you average. You are keeping your options open, but an open option is just a door you never walk through. You stand in the hallway of life, staring at a dozen doors, moving an inch toward one and then an inch toward another, never crossing the threshold. You must take a vow. You must look at the mission you defined in Chapter 5 and ask, what is the one skill that if I mastered it would make achieving this mission inevitable? Pick that skill and then commit to it for 1 year, not a month, not until it gets hard, 1 full year. This year is going to pass anyway. You can reach the end of it having watched 100 random YouTube videos about 100 different topics, or you can reach the end of it having logged 500 hours of deliberate practice in one specific domain. The former leaves you entertained but empty. The latter leaves you with a permanent asset that no one can take away from you. This is not a life sentence. It is a season of focus. You can always pivot later, but you will pivot as a master of one thing, not a master of nothing. The architecture of deliberate practice. Once you have chosen your craft, you must stop playing and start practicing. There is a massive difference. Playing is doing what you already know how to do because it feels good. If you are a guitar player who only strums the same 3 chords you learned in high school, you are playing. You are not getting better, you are just reinforcing your current level. Mastery requires deliberate practice. This means breaking your craft down into its component sub-skills and attacking the ones you are bad at. If you are a writer, you don't just write. You practice headlines. You practice transitions. You practice editing. You isolate the weak link in the chain and you put it under tension until it holds. You need a system. You cannot rely on inspiration. You need to schedule practice blocks in your calendar, just like you scheduled your focus blocks. During these blocks, you are not trying to produce a masterpiece. You are trying to improve a specific mechanism. You are an athlete in the gym. You are doing reps. And just like an athlete, you need to track your numbers. The trap of tutorial hell. The most dangerous enemy of mastery in the digital age is the tutorial. You can watch a master paint on a screen for 10 hours and feel like you know how to paint. You don't. You know what painting looks like, which is entirely different from knowing how to move the brush. This is tutorial hell. It is the false sensation of competence that comes from passive consumption. You must implement a strict ratio. For every minute you spend consuming education about your craft, you must spend at least 1 minute, preferably 2, practicing it with your own hands, without the guide. You have to close the tab. You have to stare at the blank IDE, the blank canvas, or the blank page. This is where the pain is. When the tutorial is off, you will realize how little you actually know. You will feel stupid. You will get stuck. This frustration is not a sign that you are failing. It is the feeling of learning. If it doesn't feel hard, you are not stretching. You are just coasting. You must learn to love the resistance of the blank page because that is the only place where your neural pathways are actually being rewritten. The craft journal. To keep yourself honest, you need a feedback loop. You need a craft journal. This is not a diary of your feelings. It is a log of your performance. After every practice session, write down 3 things: what you tried to do, what actually happened, and what you need to fix next time. This journal prevents you from making the same mistake for 6 months. It forces you to be objective about your progress. It also serves as a powerful antidote to discouragement. When you hit a plateau, and you will hit many, you can look back at your entries from 3 months ago. You will see that the problems which seemed impossible then are now your warm-up exercises. You will see the trajectory of your growth, which is invisible in the day-to-day grind. Do not study 100 different masters. Pick 2 or 3 role models who embody the level of skill you want to reach. Study them deeply, deconstruct their work, copy their structures to understand how they were built, then throw away the copy and build your own. Deep analysis of a few beats, shallow skimming of the many. The plateau is the path. There will come a moment, usually about 3 months in, where you stop seeing rapid progress. The newbie gains are gone. You are putting in the work, but the results look flat. You will feel an intense urge to quit. You will tell yourself that maybe this isn't the right craft for you. You will see a shiny new skill on Twitter that looks easier and more exciting. This is the filter. This is the moment that separates the pros from the amateurs. The plateau is not a dead end. It is the path. Mastery is not a linear slope upward. It is a series of flat lines punctuated by sudden jumps. The only way to trigger the jump is to keep walking the flat line when you are bored, frustrated, and tired. If you jump ship every time you hit a plateau, you will spend your entire life at the bottom of the mountain, running from trailhead to trailhead, never climbing high enough to see the view. Stay on the path. The boredom you feel is the price of admission to the top 1%. The compound interest of skill. If you stick to this, if you refuse to dabble, if you embrace the boredom and the difficulty, something magical happens. Your skills start to talk to each other. You learn a concept in design that suddenly solves a problem in your coding. You learn a structure in writing that helps you speak better. The depth you acquire in one area starts to spill over, creating a unique signature to your work. You start to gain leverage. People notice. You are no longer just another voice in the noise. You are the person who knows how to do the thing. Opportunities start to come to you. You stop chasing and start attracting. This is the payoff of the digital jailbreak. You didn't just escape the cage to wander around in the yard, you escaped to build a fortress. But there is one final threat. You have the focus, you have the mission, you have the craft, you are building a life of consequence. But the world is not static. The digital prison is constantly evolving, constantly finding new ways to pick the lock of your attention. You cannot just set these habits and forget them. You are not done. You have built a kingdom, but a kingdom without walls will eventually be sacked. You need a code. You need a set of laws that govern your territory, or the chaos will creep back in when you aren't looking. We need to talk about how to lock the gate from the inside. Chapter 8. Own your attention. The siege never ends. You have done the hard work. You have audited your time, stripped the color from your screen, learned to sit in silence, and chosen a craft. You feel lighter. You feel a sense of clarity that you haven't experienced in years. You might even feel like you have won. This is the most dangerous moment of your entire journey. The moment you think you have defeated distraction once and for all is the moment you begin to slide back into the cell. The digital prison is not a static building that you walk out of and leave behind. It is a dynamic, evolving force. The algorithms are constantly updating. The notifications are getting smarter. The culture around you is becoming more fragmented. If you treat this transformation as a one-time project, like painting a room or fixing a leaky faucet, you will be back to doom scrolling within 6 months. You must understand that distraction does not disappear. It waits. It waits for you to get tired. It waits for you to get stressed. It waits for that 1 week where you let your guard down because you think you have fixed your habits. To stay free, you cannot just be a person who escaped. You must become a person who owns their territory. You must shift from a defensive posture where you are constantly running away from screens to an offensive posture where you dictate exactly how and when your attention is used. This is not a project. It is a lifestyle. It is the difference between going on a crash diet and becoming an athlete. One is a temporary fix. The other is a fundamental change in who you are. The architecture of self-respect. Ownership is not about willpower. It is about standards. Look at the people you admire, the ones who seem to have endless focus and output. They do not have more hours in the day than you. They do not have a special gene that makes Instagram unappealing. They simply have higher standards for what they allow into their minds. When you lack ownership, you improvise. You wake up and decide in the moment whether to check your email. You decide in the moment whether to answer that text. You are constantly negotiating with yourself, and because the brain seeks the path of least resistance, you usually lose that negotiation. Winners do not negotiate. They have rules. They have boundaries that are set in stone long before the temptation arises. Setting these standards is an act of extreme self-respect. It is a way of saying that your attention is too valuable to be left unguarded. If you owned a vault full of gold, you wouldn't leave the door cracked open just in case someone wanted to drop by. You would lock it, and you would have a strict protocol for who gets in. Your attention is worth more than gold because it is the only resource that can convert your time into life. If you don't respect it, no one else will. Drafting your constitution. To operationalize this respect, you need a code. You need a set of internal laws that govern your digital existence. We call this the attention code. This is not a vague intention to be better. It is a specific, written list of binary rules that you live by. Your code should be simple, short, and non-negotiable. It might include rules like, I never check my phone before my morning deep work block. I do not sleep in the same room as my devices. I do not consume social media on weekends. I only check email twice a day at 11 a.m. and 4 p.m. These rules are not suggestions. They are your personal constitution. When you write them down, you are defining the parameters of your freedom. You are deciding, in a moment of clarity, how you will act in moments of weakness. This code aligns your daily behavior with the mission and craft you identified in the previous chapters. If your mission is to become a world-class writer, your code must protect your writing time with lethal intensity. If your code is weak, your mission will fail. Post this code where you can see it. Read it every morning. It serves as an external anchor for your identity. When you feel the urge to break a rule, you don't have to debate the merits of the specific distraction. You just look at the code. The code says no. The decision is already made. Training the world to respect you. Once you have established your internal laws, you will face an external threat: other people. The world is used to you being available. Your friends, your family, and your colleagues have been trained to expect an immediate response from you. When you start owning your attention, they will push back. They will ask if you are mad at them. They will complain that you are hard to reach. This is not their fault. It is yours. You taught them that your time was cheap. Now, you must teach them that it is expensive. You must build boundaries, and you must communicate them with absolute clarity. You do not need to be rude. You simply need to be firm. Tell your colleagues, I check messages at these specific times so I can focus on deep work. Tell your friends, I'm staying off my phone in the evenings to work on my craft, so I'll text you back in the morning. At first, this will feel uncomfortable. You will fear that you are missing out or letting people down. But a strange thing will happen. People will adjust, and then they will start to respect you more. When you are always available, your presence is a commodity. When you are scarce, your presence is a luxury. By guarding your attention, you signal that you are a serious person doing serious work. You stop being the person who replies instantly to every meme and start being the person who delivers results. The myth of the finish line. There is a persistent myth that one day you will be cured. You think that if you follow the habits in this book for 60 days, you will reach a state of permanent enlightenment where you never want to scroll again. This is a lie. Freedom is not a destination, it is a practice. It is like physical fitness. You don't go to the gym for 6 months, get in shape, and then stop going forever. If you stop, you atrophy. The same is true for your attention. Every new app that is released is a fresh test. Every life change, a new job, a breakup, a move, is a threat to your system. You must reframe ownership as an ongoing discipline. You will have days where you fail. You will have weeks where you slide back into old habits. This does not mean the system is broken. It means you are human. The difference between the owner and the prisoner is not that the owner never slips. It is that the owner catches the slip immediately and corrects it. The prisoner slips and decides that since they ruined the day, they might as well ruin the week. The monthly audit. To prevent a slip from becoming a collapse, you need a feedback loop. You need a scheduled time to review your performance. I recommend a monthly attention check-in. Set a recurring date on your calendar. On that day, look at your screen time data. Look at your output. Look at your attention code. Ask yourself honest questions. Where did I drift? Which rule did I break most often? Is there a new app that is stealing my time? Use this data to update your system. Maybe one of your rules is unrealistic and needs to be adjusted. Maybe you need to add a new rule to handle a new distraction. Maybe you need to increase the friction on a specific website. This process keeps your system alive. It prevents your standards from eroding quietly in the background. It forces you to confront the reality of your behavior before it spirals out of control. Holding the line. The hardest part of ownership is not the big decisions, It is the slow erosion. It is the just this once mentality. You tell yourself it's okay to check your phone in bed just this once because you are tired. You tell yourself it's okay to keep notifications on just for today because you're waiting for an email. These small concessions are the cracks in the dam. Once you start making exceptions, the code loses its power. You must hold the line on the small things because the small things are what hold the big things together. If you do slip, do not wallow in guilt. Guilt is a useless emotion in this context. It is just another form of self-indulgence. Instead of feeling bad, get curious. Ask why you slipped. What was the trigger? What was the emotional state? Treat the failure as data. Use that data to reinforce your defenses. If you checked your phone in bed, buy an alarm clock and charge your phone in the kitchen. Don't promise to do better. Design a system that makes it harder to fail. The identity of the builder. Ultimately, owning your attention is about cementing a new identity. You are shifting from a consumer to a builder. A consumer's attention is for sale to the highest bidder. A builder's attention is the raw material for their life's work. Use identity-based reminders to reinforce this. Label your calendar blocks not as work, but as building. Tell yourself, I am the kind of person who finishes what I start. When you turn down a distraction, take a moment to feel a sense of pride. That pride is the cement that holds your new identity together. You will reach a point where this ownership becomes second nature. You will instinctively recoil from low-value distractions, not because you are forcing yourself, but because they feel beneath you. They feel like a waste of the precious resource you have cultivated. You will walk through the world with a sense of calm power, knowing that while everyone else is reacting to the noise, you are choosing your signal. You have the awareness, you have the tools, you have the mission, you have the craft, and now you have the code to protect it all. You have built a fortress around your mind. But a fortress is not a tomb. You didn't build these walls to hide from the world. You built them so you could engage with it on your own terms. You are ready. The preparation is over. The systems are in place. Now comes the question that matters most. What happens when you open the gates and step out into the rest of your life? The digital prison is behind you, but the open road is ahead, and it is time to see just how far you can walk. Chapter 9, Walk Free. The moment of release. You are standing at the gate. Look back for a moment at where you started. You began this journey as a prisoner, likely without even realizing the bars were there. You were waking up and immediately scrolling. You were filling every silent moment with noise. You were watching other people live while your own potential sat gathering dust in the corner of your mind. You felt that low-level hum of anxiety, the fog of fragmented attention, and the quiet despair of knowing you were capable of more, but unable to access it. That person is gone, or at least they are fading. By reading this far, you have done something that the vast majority of people will never do. You have looked the warden in the eye. You have acknowledged that the digital world is not a neutral playground, but a carefully engineered enclosure designed to harvest your life for profit. And you have decided to opt out. This is not just a book you finished. It is a system you have installed. You learned to see the bars, mapping the specific traps that held you. You cut the hooks, using friction to break the loop of unconscious compulsion. You trained your focus, rebuilding the mental muscle that allows you to do hard things. You found your mission, giving your attention a destination. You became a creator, flipping the switch from input to output. You mastered one craft, choosing depth over dabbling. And finally, you learned to own your attention, setting the laws that will protect your freedom forever. The architecture of freedom. You must understand that these 7 habits are not a menu. You cannot pick and choose. You cannot decide to cut the hooks, but refuse to find a mission, because if you create a vacuum without a purpose, the noise will rush back in. You cannot become a creator without training your focus, because you will lack the stamina to finish what you start. This is a single, cohesive architecture. It is a suspension bridge. If you remove one cable, the whole thing collapses. But when they work together, they reinforce each other. Your mission drives your craft. Your craft demands your focus. Your focus requires friction against distraction. Your friction protects your attention. Your attention fuels your creation. It is a self-sustaining loop of power. The transformation you have undergone is not magic. It is the result of identity-based change. You didn't just change what you do, you changed who you are. You stopped telling yourself the story of the victim who is addicted to their phone, and you started telling the story of the builder who uses tools to shape their world. Every time you resisted a notification, every time you sat in the discomfort of deep work, every time you shipped a micro-creation, you cast a vote for this new identity, and now the election is over. You have won. The unfair advantage. Let's be honest about the world you are stepping back into. Look around you. You are surrounded by zombies. You are surrounded by people who are walking down the street with their heads bent at a 45-degree angle, bathed in blue light. You are surrounded by colleagues who cannot sit through a meeting without checking their email under the table. You are surrounded by friends who cannot watch a movie without a second screen in their hand. This sounds bleak, but for you, it is the greatest opportunity of your lifetime. Deep focus is the new IQ. It is the new currency of the 21st century. Because it is so rare, it is incredibly valuable. In an economy where everyone is distracted, the person who can focus is king. You now hold an unfair advantage. While your competitors are fragmenting their minds with TikTok trends and 24-hour news cycles, you are going deep. While they are reacting to the noise, you are generating the signal. You can learn faster than them. You can produce more than them. You can solve problems they can't even see because they are too busy refreshing their feeds. You have removed the lead weights from your ankles while everyone else is adding more. The gift of presence. But this is not just about productivity and winning. It is about being human. The digital prison didn't just steal your work. It stole your love. It stole the moments of connection with the people who matter most to you. It turned conversations into shallow exchanges of information rather than deep transfers of emotion. Now, you have the ability to be fully present. When you sit down with a friend, you are actually there. You are not half there, with one part of your brain wondering what is happening on Instagram. You are listening. You are noticing the tone of their voice, the look in their eyes. You are making them feel seen. This builds trust in a way that nothing else can. People are starving for attention. Real, undivided attention is the rarest gift you can give someone. When you give it freely, you become a magnet. You become the person others rely on, the person they trust, the person they want to be around. You become the rock in the stream of chaos. Your relationships will deepen, your influence will grow, and your sense of connection to the real world will return in full color. Building a cathedral. You are now capable of starting and finishing ambitious projects. Think about the things you wrote down on your someday list years ago. The book, the business, the software, the art portfolio. Those things felt impossible because you were trying to build them with fractured attention. It was like trying to build a cathedral with a pile of sand. Now you have stone. You have the ability to break big goals into focused blocks and execute them with relentless consistency. You can withstand the boredom of the plateau. You can push through the difficulty of the learning curve. You are going to look back in a year and see a body of work that exists outside of you. This is the difference between a consumer and a creator. A consumer leaves no trace. When they die, their browser history is deleted, and it is as if they were never there. A creator leaves a legacy. You are building things that will outlast you. You are contributing to the human conversation instead of just eavesdropping on it. You are designing a life that actually resembles the one you wanted, not the one the algorithm chose for you. The momentum of the flywheel. Here is the best news of all. It gets easier. Right now, you might feel like you are constantly exerting effort to maintain these habits. That is normal. You are pushing a heavy flywheel from a standstill. But every day you practice, the wheel spins faster. Soon, the momentum of your identity will take over. You won't have to use willpower to ignore your phone. You will ignore it because it bores you. You won't have to force yourself to create. You will create because it is who you are. The systems you have built, the friction, the codes, the routines, will do the heavy lifting for you. This is the compounding effect of attention. Just as money compounds over time, so does focus. A year of deep work is not just 365 days of work. It is a geometric progression of skill and insight. The work you do today makes the work you do tomorrow better. The clarity you gain today makes the decisions you make tomorrow smarter. You are on an exponential curve, and you are just at the beginning. The first step outside. We are done with theory. We are done with reading. The book is closing, and the real world is opening. You have a choice to make right now. You can be the person who read a book about digital addiction, nodded along, felt inspired for an hour, and then picked up their phone to check social media. Or you can be the person who walks free. Do not let this be intellectual entertainment. Do not let this be another dopamine hit of feeling productive without being productive. Action is the only truth. I want you to choose one concrete action to take in the next 24 hours. Not a vague intention, a specific physical action. Maybe you will run a mini attention audit tomorrow. Maybe you will delete the 3 most toxic apps from your phone. Maybe you will sit down for 20 minutes and write the first paragraph of that project you have been scared to start. Write it down, commit to it, tell someone, make it real. The size of the action does not matter, the direction matters. You are turning the ship. The final verdict. You have spent enough of your life in the cage. You have given enough of your precious, finite time to companies that view you as a statistic. You have scrolled past enough of your own potential. The door is unlocked. It has been unlocked the whole time. The only thing keeping you inside was the belief that you belonged there. You don't. You belong out here, in the arena, where things are built, where connections are real, and where life is lived in high resolution. Refuse to go back. Refuse to be a passive spectator in your own existence. Claim your identity as a free, focused creator. The screen is small, the world is big. Put the device down, look up, and go.